Amelia Earhart was not always a famous pilot. She was once just a girl born in Atchison, Kansas. She grew up with a spirit full of adventure. Amelia and her sister Muriel loved to explore. They climbed trees and hunted for rats. They even built a roller coaster in their backyard. Amelia was the one who rode it first, flying off a ramp in a wooden box. This was a small sign of the brave woman she would become. She was not afraid of getting a little scraped or bruised. She was always looking for the next exciting thing to do, the next challenge to conquer, and the next boundary to push, a trait that would define her entire life. Her first real look at an airplane happened at a state fair. She was not very impressed at first. The plane looked like a rickety thing made of wire and wood. But a few years later, everything changed forever. She attended an air show in Canada. A pilot in a small red plane saw her standing in a field. He decided to have some fun and dived right at her. Instead of running away like the others, Amelia stood her ground. She felt a mix of fear and excitement as the plane flew right over her head. At that very moment, she knew she had to fly. Something deep inside her clicked into place, a calling she could no longer ignore. To chase her dream, Amelia took on many different jobs. She worked as a truck driver and a photographer. She saved every penny she could earn. Finally, she had enough money for her first flying lesson. Her teacher was another woman pilot named Netta Snook. From her very first time in the cockpit, Amelia felt at home. The sky was where she belonged. It was a vast, open space with no limits. She worked hard and quickly learned how to control the aircraft. Soon she bought her very own airplane, a bright yellow biplane. She named it the Canary. It was her first step toward becoming a legend. Amelia's love for flying was more than just a hobby. It was a deep passion that guided her entire life. She saw the sky not as a barrier, but as a highway to freedom and new possibilities. In a world where many people believed women should stay on the ground, Amelia looked up. She saw a place where she could prove that women were just as capable as men. Her early adventures and her determination to learn how to fly set the stage for all the amazing things she would later accomplish. Her journey was just beginning, and the whole world would soon know her name and her incredible spirit of adventure. Amelia Earhart quickly became more than just a pilot. She became a symbol of courage for women everywhere. In 1928, she received a surprising phone call. She was asked to be the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean. She would only be a passenger on this flight, keeping the flight log. The plane was called the Friendship. Even though she did not pilot the plane herself, the journey made her famous overnight. When she returned, America celebrated her with parades and parties. But Amelia felt she did not deserve all the attention. She called herself a sack of potatoes on the flight because she hadn't touched the controls during the long trip. This feeling pushed her to achieve more. She wanted to prove to everyone and to herself that she was a true pilot. So, in 1932, she decided to fly across the Atlantic Ocean again. This time, she would do it all by herself. It was a dangerous and difficult journey. She flew in a small, single-engine plane. She faced strong winds, thick ice on her wings, and even a fire in her engine. For nearly 15 hours, she battled the elements alone over the dark, cold ocean. She showed incredible skill and bravery, proving her abilities beyond any doubt to the entire world. When she finally landed in a field in Northern Ireland, she became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic. This incredible achievement made her one of the most famous people in the world. She was no longer just a passenger. She was a hero, an accomplished aviator who had done what only one man had done before her. Her success inspired millions of people, especially women and girls. She showed them that they could break barriers and follow their dreams, no matter how big or impossible they might seem. Amelia used her fame to encourage other women to pursue careers in aviation and science. After her solo Atlantic flight, Amelia continued to set new records. She became the first person to fly solo from Hawaii to California. This was a longer and more dangerous flight over water than her Atlantic crossing. She flew from Los Angeles to Mexico City, and then from Mexico City to New York. With each flight, she pushed the limits of what was thought possible for an aviator. She wasn't just setting records, she was opening up new routes and possibilities in the sky. Amelia Earhart became a true pioneer, constantly seeking the next horizon and proving that the only limits were the ones you placed on yourself. By 1937, Amelia Earhart had already accomplished so much. She had flown across oceans and set numerous records, but she had one last great adventure in mind. She wanted to be the first woman to fly around the entire world. This was her biggest dream, a final challenge to conquer. The journey would cover about 29,000 miles, following a route close to the equator. It was the longest and most difficult path ever attempted. For this incredible task, she had a new, advanced airplane. It was a twin-engine Lockheed Electra 10E. The plane was specially modified for the long journey, filled with extra fuel tanks. It was a flying laboratory. Her first attempt to fly around the world started in March 1937. She planned to fly from west to east, but the journey ended before it truly began. During takeoff from Hawaii for the next leg of the flight, something went wrong. The plane spun out of control on the runway. It was a scary moment that badly damaged the aircraft. Amelia and her navigator Fred Noonan were not hurt, but the plane needed extensive repairs. Some people might have given up after such a setback, but not Amelia. She was more determined than ever to complete her goal. She knew the risks, but her spirit was unbreakable. A few months later, the plane was repaired and ready to go again. This time, Amelia decided to fly from east to west, reversing her original route. The change was because of different wind and weather patterns expected later in the year. She and Fred Noonan, an experienced navigator, set off from Miami, Florida on June 1, 1937. The first part of their journey was a great success. They flew across South America, Africa, India, and Southeast Asia. They made headlines around the world with each stop. For over a month, they successfully navigated thousands of miles, proving the capability of both the plane and its crew. By the time they reached Lae, New Guinea, they had already flown over 22,000 miles. They had completed almost 3/4 of their epic journey around the globe. Only one major challenge remained: the vast, empty expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Their next stop was a tiny, flat piece of land in the middle of the ocean called Howland Island. It was a very difficult target to find. The flight to Howland Island would be the longest and most dangerous leg of the entire trip. The world watched and waited, holding its breath as Amelia and Fred prepared for the final, most perilous part of their historic flight. On July 2, 1937, Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan took off from Lae, New Guinea. They were headed for Howland Island, a tiny coral island that was more than 2,500 miles away. A United States Coast Guard cutter, the Itasca, was waiting for them near the island. The ship was there to help guide them in with radio signals. The flight was long and tiring, lasting for many hours through the night. As morning came, Amelia started communicating with the Itasca. Her radio messages were faint and broken. She reported that she was flying through cloudy weather. She said she believed they were close to the island, but she could not see it. The crew on the Itasca tried desperately to contact her. They sent out strong radio signals and even created thick black smoke from the ship's smokestack to help her spot them. Amelia's voice came over the radio several times. She sounded worried. She said, "We are running on line north and south." This was her last confirmed message. After that, there was only silence. The world's most famous female pilot and her navigator had vanished somewhere over the vast Pacific Ocean. The connection was lost, and a great mystery was born from that unending silence. Immediately, the largest and most expensive search and rescue effort in American history began. The United States Navy and Coast Guard searched for weeks. They scanned over 250,000 square miles of ocean. Ships and airplanes crisscrossed the area where Amelia was thought to be, but they found nothing. There was no sign of the plane, no wreckage, and no trace of Amelia or Fred. It was as if the Lockheed Electra had simply disappeared into thin air. The official search was eventually called off, but the mystery of what happened to Amelia Earhart only grew deeper with time, capturing the public's imagination. Over the decades, many theories have tried to explain the disappearance. The most accepted theory is that the plane ran out of fuel. They likely missed Howland Island and had to ditch the aircraft in the ocean, where it sank without a trace. Another popular idea suggests they might have crash-landed on a different, uninhabited island, possibly Gardner Island, which is now Nikumaroro. Some people believe they survived as castaways for a short time. Still other, more wild theories claim they were captured as spies by the Japanese. Despite many expeditions and investigations, no one has ever found definitive proof. Amelia Earhart remains a legend, not just for how she lived, but for the enduring mystery of how she was lost.